Alright, so you just hit maps. Or, at the very least, you're about to kill Katava. Except you're broke, you've been unlucky with drops, and haven't gotten very many or any Chaos Orbs as you leveled through the acts. What do? Head into maps and do the Chaos recipe? Go complain about it on Reddit or in a Twitch chat? Maybe down in the YouTube comments? Well, no, hopefully none of the above. Instead, you go into Heist. Because while Endless Heist was nerfed, Heist is still a great way to make money, especially super early in the league. For example, I did some heisting for a little over an hour. Right after I hit maps. I ended up doing it after killing Katava since I knew between my Juggernaut Ascendancy and just the gear I had on, I was going to be over my res cap anyway. However, I strongly advise, if you're not super overcapped on your res, doing it before you kill Katava, cause you don't need to kill him, and it's easier without having to get more resists. Plus, it's a good way to level up for the Katava fight. So, with all of these things said, I went from about level 65 to level 70 by heisting, and I got 28 chaos during that time. I got 20 raw chaos as drops, mostly from lockpicking encounters and a few from demolition or small chests, plus an additional 8 chaos orbs from doing the chaos recipe. I didn't get all that many amulets, so this could have been a little bit unlucky. Either way, this feels like a pretty decent sample size for a little over an hour's gameplay while heisting on what I'd call a pretty average character. Okay, in terms of defenses, RF Jug is anything but average. In terms of damage, it's certainly not the best without gear, and I'm just wearing scuffed junk off the floor, so I don't think this is going to be too hard for you to recreate. Just pay attention to your defenses and don't face tank like you see me doing in the video. Now, unfortunately, Endless Heist was removed, which means you can't de-level and re-level and de-level and re-level to continually do this until you have a Mage Blood. What you can do is go over to the vendor, buy all of the lockpicking contracts and demolition contracts, maybe throw in some agility if you're feeling spicy, then run through them, level up, come back, see if there's any more, and repeat this process until you're at a pretty comfortable level. For me, I'd stop around between 70 and 72. Then, if you haven't already killed Katava, go kill him, and proceed on to maps. This way, you'll not only be a lot higher level, meaning the Katava fight's easier, but you'll have actual currency to go buy gear, which is pretty important. When you're doing lockpicking, you want to make sure you're using Karst. Not only does he reduce the alert level, meaning that you get to open more of the small chests, but he's also pretty darn fast, so you can blitz through the heists. The big chests for lockpicking will either A, be currency, which you should always go for, or B, be jewelry, which you can kind of think of as currency with extra steps, as you can pick it up and vendor it as part of a chaos recipe. Personally, I hate doing the chaos recipe, so I wouldn't do this for very long, but right at the start of a league, if I'm doing heist anyway, it's not the worst thing in the world. Well, okay, it's kind of pretty bad still, but at least tolerable for an hour. On the other hand, when running demolition, try to take Tibbs with you. The advantage Tibbs brings is he can open one small chest after the lockdown has been triggered. This way, you'll get some extra loot as you're on your way out. And on that note, you don't always have to trigger the lockdown. Sometimes you might find a really valuable prize, maybe a Divine Orb, Corrupted 6-Link, or something of that nature. If that's the case, stop everything you're doing and leave. Just walk out. That way, if you die, you don't lose that item. In fact, because these are low-level contracts, it's not even worth backtracking to really go back and try to complete it. Just escape with your loot. Just think about it this way. Which would hurt more? Knowing that you got 2 Divines and lost them both, or the thought that maybe there's a highly unlikely chance that the thing you didn't complete would still have a Divine? I know for me personally, losing something I already had feels way worse than something that I didn't have to begin with. Another quick tip. On your way out, be sure to grab any safes in the final vault room. Some vaults have safes, others don't. They're really easy to miss, and they can have some pretty good stuff. In this case, I didn't get anything good, but I did get several chaos out of other safes when I wasn't recording. I guess that's kind of how it always happens, just like the fish that always got away. As a few other general quick tips, if you want to make even more money, grab some gems to level. The EXP honestly isn't terrible here in Heist. If you're leveling up some gems, it can always help because either you have a meta skill that you're using, or a meta skill that you can sell to someone else. A good example of this might be Toxic Rain, the thing that I'm probably going to do once I finish leveling my own Righteous Fire gems. Now, when it comes to heist, doors, and dangerous enemies, number 1, try to have good fizz mitigation. use Molten Shell, possibly on cast when damage taken. Make sure you have Determination. Throw in an Armor Flask. Number 2, try to cap your resistances. You're probably not going to be able to cap Chaos this early unless you're maybe an occultist, but at least try to keep it as low in the negatives as possible. 0 or above is ideal. Then again, we're talking about you just finished the campaign. If you're fast, you're a few hours in. If you're slow, you're, 10 to 12 hours in. You're probably not going to have capped Chaos Res. Do your best and just be really, really aware of things like the little Chaos Volatiles from Toxic, as those could one-shot you. Then always have a good movement skill. Personally, I really like Frostblink since it's instant and I can use it to teleport behind packs. As the door opens, the pack kind of piles up and they all aim directly at the door, so if you walk through, you're going to get blasted. If you teleport behind them, just like in an anime, they're surprised and tend to fall over dead as long as you have a decent amount of damage. And in terms of my damage, it wasn't that great. I'm also on 2 4-links. I've put very little into damage. Since I'm a Righteous Fire Jug, I mostly want to stack life and get as much resistance as possible, but I was able to survive without issue. Out of all the heists I did, I only died once, and that was just reckless or careless stupidity on my part, where I kind of forgot about the negative 60% Chaos Res thing and got one-shot. Luckily, I didn't have any good loot that run, but hopefully my pain will serve as a good lesson for you. And speaking of good lessons, I'm going to leave you with a question. What are some of the tips that you use to get money early league? I'm not talking about a ton, just 10, 20, or even 30 chaos to get you going, buy a few core uniques, and really set you up to head into maps. Be sure to leave any of those tips, tricks, or strategies down in the comments below. So far, my Crucible League has gone pretty well. The Crucible trees maybe aren't quite as impactful as I hoped early on, but that could be because I was using Scepters and playing a Righteous Fire Juggernaut, far from a traditional build. If I'd been playing a melee attacker, I would have been really happy to get all the flat damage rolls, which seem very common in Tier 1. Unfortunately, my experience instead has been, oh, this doesn't apply to my build. Neither does that. Wait, why would I even want that? Oh, that makes my attack speed worse. That's outright detrimental. On shields, I've had a little bit better luck, grabbing things like increased maximum life. That said, I plan to explore Crucible trees more, see how everything rolls, then hopefully come up with some good stuff in the future. So be sure to get subscribed so you don't miss those uploads. With that said, a special thanks to my patrons and channel members for their continued support. For as low as $1 a month, you can help make videos just like this one possible. Link to Patreon will be down in the description. If you want something else to watch and maybe you enjoy pain, you can always watch my entire leveling experience. I wasn't very fast, I did it wrong, and that's totally fine because I had a bunch of fun. That'll be up in the card and also down in the description. Or you can always go for a recommendation on screen right now. With that said, I hope your league starts going well. Hopefully this tip helps you out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again sometime soon.